Jerod Mayo obviously was fired yesterday, and Alex Van Pelt was fired. Elliott Wolf was not fired. And there haven't been any other firings?
No. Just those three things of what we've been told.
So Mayo and Van Pelt had to know before the game they were getting fired. The takeaway from it for me is the same as it always was, is that there was no way if you really liked Jerod Mayo and you thought that he had the qualities to be a head coach, there was no way he was going to succeed this year. You put him in a position where he could not succeed. So there was no way the team was going to win, 7-8 games. There was no way that he was going to look as good as Bill Belichick. He had no support system around him. You had no plan going into the season. You set him up to fail. If I'm Mayo, I'm really pissed, but I've been pissed for so long. I'm almost probably relieved I got fired, but I'm pissed at the Crafts because it's like you thought all this about me, and you thought I had all these intangible qualities and all this stuff, and then you surround me with like a terrible staff. Part of that's on Mayo, I guess, but you surround me with a terrible staff, inexperienced terrible staff in the worst roster in the NFL. We develop your quarterback and, win about the amount of games expected, and now I'm fired. Go ahead.
There are a couple questions there, Fred. Did May develop because of the coaching he got, or did he just develop because of game experience? And I think the answer to this is, it might be more game experience than coaching. The kid's athletic ability was just so good that he got better as the season went on.
Marcus Mariota played yesterday, and he played very well. Marcus Mariota is a very good backup quarterback. He was the number 2 quarterback taken in the draft. He'll never succeed as a starter. Mm-hmm. If he had been given there's guys with a ton of and Mariota's free, fast and strong arm. If there's guys that are incredible athletes, Sam Darnold. There's guys that are incredible athletes. I'll just give you Sam Darnold. Let's do Sam Darnold. He played really bad last night, but Sam Darnold, was on a team that won 14 games. So, and he was the starting quarterback and played very well all season. He has all the athletic ability. He has athletic ability like Drake May. He's in that class, right? Like elite quarterback athlete. And it took Kevin O'Connell to get him to play. So no one on the Jets could coach him up and to play like Drake May. So it's Drake May's talent, but there certainly has to be, and probably not Mayo, but there certainly has to be something to be said about Van Pelt developing him. Yes.
I think maybe when the right person gets around him, he will evolve into the quarterback that we all think he can be, but not with this group. Not with this group at all. And obviously the other thing we didn't mention is that the product on the field wasn't necessarily getting better. That's the thing that really cinched it, I think, for the Crafts is the way the Patriots looked in December. Everyone knew that the roster was crap. Everyone knew that they were up against it. They weren't going to be very good. But we were hoping that we'd see positive trends, and we never did.
No, you got the 1 step up, 2 steps back with every good thing that happened.
That Charger game was a slap in the face.
Well, we were attaching ourselves to good Drake May quarters, a series to start a game. And, we were hanging our hopes on things like that. And so those counted as high points. Some of the losses still counted as positive things for it. And then you would have 2 bad losses after that. So they didn't see really anything beyond some nice Drake May performances to think that this was a work in progress. The only thing that's a work in progress right now, I think, is Drake May. That's it. Anything else you can throw out, including Elliott Wolf, which we disagreed about earlier in the season, Fred. I know you said you can't get rid of a GM like that after a year. And
it's a circus. Well, your team's a circus. You fired Bill Belichick to bring your handpicked successor in. You gave your handpicked successor 1 year and then got rid of him with no support system. So that's a circus. That's as bad as any Jet. That's as bad as any Lions. It's as bad. Your organization's just as clown showish as that.
Yeah.
You got a good quarterback. That's great, and that helps. But and then if you fire your general manager on top of all of that, and then you're rebooting again, because I got news for you, and we'll get into it. A lot of these can't miss coaching candidates that apparently, like Vrabel, that are available, listen, he's playing chess. Be careful a little bit with this Vrabel thing. Go ahead, because you bring in another group and they suck next year. Oh boy. Go ahead.
Clearly, and we had Bert Burr sit in here on Friday and talk about the opportunity presented to the Crafts. The way they are doing things, promoting from within, having a certain structure in the organization isn't working without Bill Belichick here. It wasn't working with Bill Belichick here. They have a chance to reset everything and figure out a different way and update their organization. But one more quick thing.
Ahead.
You know what other organization was a clown show not too long ago? The Houston Texans. They fired head coaches in their first year in back-to-back years. Remember David Cullen and Lovie Smith? They both got fired in back-to-back years not that long ago. They blew everybody out of there. They brought in Nick Caserio, and look what happened. They are an organization.
But they kept Caserio during the firings.
I guess what I'm saying is Caserio came in during that. I don't think he was there when they hired Cullen. I think
he was there from at least one of the firings.
But I guess what I'm saying is that organization looked about as clown show-ish as possible.
They had
and here
talent.
They are 3 years later.
But they had talent.
They drafted well.
Yes, and so they had talent.
With a new GM, with a guy who knew what he was doing. I'm not convinced Elliott Wolf knows what he's doing.
That's fine, but if you...
And I'm not keeping that guy in charge of my draft board.
Well,
Robert Kraft has to take the extra step, either bring in someone over Wolf like he had all those other years when Belichick was in charge of the draft, or get rid of him altogether.
No, you have to yes, you have to change the way that you do business. Right. You have to, yes, as everyone has said, they don't have like an analytics department. They have far less people in the front office in the organization for whatever reason.
So getting rid
than
of
any other team. But you can do that with keeping Elliott Wolf in that position. You can give him the resources that he needs. It seems like this is what it is. Belichick ran the organization unlike any other organization in football. It stopped working. So you fired him and you brought in a guy that you know and like.
Promoted
a guy that you know and like. And then you brought in a GM that you like, and then you kept the structure the exact same way as it was with Belichick, and then you expected things to change. Look, Mayo maybe should have been fired, but they did not. There was no way he was going to succeed. Starting in the offseason, there was no way Mayo was going to succeed. And I'm not convinced if Mayo, in knowing Jerod Mayo like a little bit, and knowing what the Kraft saw in Mayo and what the players saw in Mayo, I'm not convinced Mayo can't be a good coach in the NFL. There was just no way it was going to work here.
Don't forget, Mayo interviewed back-to-back years.
Well, that's apparently what scared
other
Kraft.
Intervisions wanted him, and Kraft specifically had to write it into his contract that he was the next guy, so he wouldn't interview other players. Other organizations wanted him. He wasn't a disaster. It just he came in when he wasn't ready. He clearly was not ready for this and was not handed a winning deck of cards either.
We talked about it from the very beginning. They got him D-list coordinators. He had no coaching experience. They brought in one guy who's a jabroni from the Giants to sit there and help.
Ben McAdoo.
There was no one that knew what they were doing. They have no infrastructure in the front office. They gave them no opportunity. This is entirely on the Crafts. And I don't think it's on Mayo. I don't think it's on Wolf. I think it's on the Crafts.
Right. I don't know that Mayo will ever be, a coach or a good coach, but they knew that going in. And I talked about this earlier in the season too. It's like, he wasn't really able to pick his own staff. Even if he had been given that opportunity, how would he know who to go after? He's only been with the Patriots. He doesn't have this vast wealth of experience and this huge body of knowledge to draw from.
Were they saying that during the Patriots game yesterday about how you need to have...
I think somebody did say that,
okay, so it was during the Patriots game.
But all he's known is the Belichick system.
Right. And then how would he know? That's right. That was the point that was made, is like, how would he know? And now,
Well, I argued about this with I mean, going back even before this show with like Zolak and Birchall. I think you and I may have argued about it too, whether or not he had, the requisite skill set to be a head coach. And I said, well, just being like a good player in the NFL and, working as an assistant coach for a few years. And some people said, yeah, that's enough. That's all you need. I know head coaches get the job without ever head coaching anywhere before. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does. It just didn't seem like this was the case with Jerod.
Well, the thing is that the reason the Crafts hired him is they saw in the building the respect that he had from the players, and they wanted an attitude change from Belichick that wasn't working. That's why they did it. But then what got in the Crafts' way is they really have no experience. Thank you. You agree, John? They have no experience building a foundation of a team.
They were handed it. Parcells had something set. They got rid of, Pete Carroll came in. He did not work, but then Belichick laid a huge foundation for them for all those years. Robert Kraft, good for him. He got out of his own way and fired a guy who wasn't ready and it wasn't working with him. So he fired him after 1 year. That takes some savvy to do that. But now he needs to make the next step. He needs to change his organization.
Yes.
He's only halfway there.
Yes.
He needs to do more than what he just did yesterday to turn this thing around.
Well, he certainly needs to change the way the organization does business. And for all we know, Elliot Wolf has been telling him that all year. Is like I can't
maybe
operate this way.
That's why he stayed.
Dude, I'm telling you, put yourself in these guys' positions. Like you couldn't succeed. They had to be telling Kraft, what's going on? By the way, Elliot Wolf's didn't spend any money. He's got $130 million in cap space and the number 4 overall pick. I mean, the guy looks like he whiffed in last year's draft outside of May. But he didn't go crazy in free agency and pick up a bunch of duds. I mean, they brought it down to the bolts, and now they're building it back up.
And it's interesting too, because I was thinking about Jalen Polk last night after they fired Alex Van Pelt and Jerod Mayo. Polk, who was good, he was a good receiver in college. He was worth a second-round draft pick, but was he hamstrung by the people who are in charge?
I don't know. There's two. Well, Odunze isn't so great, but the third receiver from Washington had a much better year than Polk. Polk might be the worst of the three.
But I can see Wolf selling that to the Kraft, saying if you get rid of this coaching staff, Polk will be much better next year.
Yeah, I mean, look at this, dude.
Why else would he stay?
You whiff on second-round picks.
For the reason that Fred said, it's bad enough that Robert's hand-picked successor to Bill Belichick is a one-and-done quarterback. If you blow out the GM too, now you're looked upon as a clown show. They don't want to look like clowns. They don't want to look to be in complete disarray.
I think this team already looks like this team already is looked at
Firing the
that
GM
way.
Would make it look even more.
And what gives you what gives you any confidence that the guy that they're going to bring in is going to succeed? I mean, the Elliot Wolf, they knew and picked what makes you get. We do this with all the teams. What gives you any indication that the Crafts would all of a sudden be able to turn around and go in this offseason with all the competition going on, get a guy and put him in and have him create the structure that's needed?
What my point is, Fred, there is nothing on their resume that tells me that they can go out, execute a search for a GM and hire someone outside the organization. But what I can tell you is promoting from within has not worked.
Kraft
has given that much up by firing the guy he picked to replace Belichick.
I'm also telling you that Elliot Wolf didn't spend any money in the offseason, and you've given him one draft. And in that draft, he got you a quarterback. But it was everyone wanted him to take the quarterback. No, they didn't. The Giants would have loved to have traded up.
No, give it up to him.
Minnesota would have loved to have traded up.
He didn't trade the pick. He heard that a lot of people wanted to trade up and draft this kid. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to draft this kid.
What happened? He said he heard everyone wanted him, so that's why he took him.
The point is, you had a high draft. You understand what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but I do think that it's that if you're an owner and you go, I know this guy really well, I'm going to put him in charge of the organization. He actually has experience doing this, not at this position, but doing this We still have to build an infrastructure around it. We know that things are completely. There's no way Elliot Wolf hasn't gone to them. Hello, like look at what these other teams are doing. I think that it would be a little premature, but and you can't get in the high. Believe me, it's the really bad organizations that just get in the habit of firing every year, firing. But listen, Mayo is gone, and I feel bad for the guy. I really do feel bad for Jerod Mayo. He had no opportunity. There was no chance. No chance for him to succeed.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.